For centuries, the British Empire was the largest empire the world had ever seen. At its height, it controlled about a quarter of the globe. But by the late 1800s and early 1900s, cracks were beginning to show. Colonies wanted more control over their own affairs. So Britain came up with a solution, something called dominions. By the 19th century, places like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa were growing rapidly. They had large European-descended populations and strong local governments. These colonies didn't want to be tightly controlled from London anymore. They wanted to make their own laws, manage their own economies, and govern themselves, but many still felt loyal to Britain. Britain faced a choice: hold on tightly and risk rebellion, or loosen control and risk losing the empire altogether. Britain chose compromise. Instead of treating these territories like regular colonies, Britain gave them dominion status. This meant they were self-governing nations within the empire. They controlled their internal affairs, but they still recognized the British monarch as head of state. Canada became a dominion in 1867. Australia followed in 1901. Others soon joined. Dominions fought alongside Britain, but they paid a heavy price in soldiers and resources. After the war, they demanded greater recognition for their sacrifices. By 1931, Britain passed the Statute of Westminster 1931. This law gave dominions full legal independence. Britain could no longer make laws for them without their consent. In the short term, yes, the dominion system helped Britain avoid violent revolutions in these territories. Unlike some colonies, these countries transitioned peacefully into independence. But in the long term, it marked the beginning of the end for the empire. Once the dominions gained independence, other colonies demanded the same, and after World War II, Britain simply didn't have the power to hold everything together. At this point, the dominions were independent in everything but name. This allowed Britain to say, "You're basically independent, but still part of our imperial family." The dominion system wasn't just a political compromise. It was Britain's attempt to transform its empire into something more flexible, a commonwealth of nations instead of a rigid empire. And in doing so, Britain slowly let go of the empire it had once ruled.